Hello, beautiful survivors. How are you? This is Karina from Stroke Surviving the Odds. Normally, we have a audio podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, but today we are recording a special guest. And before I get into it, I want to tell you that the show Stroke Surviving the Odds mission is to move forward past the stroke. Help survivors reclaim their lives, reclaim their identities, and who knows, find new things about themselves. I myself suffered a brainstem dissection 28 years ago in a couple of weeks, and that led to coma interlocked syndrome. But as you can see, I am here today. And I am supporting my community, my family of stroke survivors that are becoming closer and closer to me. And I hope you subscribe on my YouTube and you ring that bell, or you follow and subscribe on all podcast platforms, because that way is going to make sure you don't miss anything, any strategies that myself or my guests have to share with you. Remember, it's all about moving forward past the events of the stroke. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to today's guest. He is someone that I've been following for a few years. Please excuse me, these are bothering me. Someone that I've been following for the past few years. I have seen his progression. He is not only a musician, a great one at that, and he's very proud of it. He's going to tell you all about it. But now he is an author. So I'd like to introduce you, without further ado, Mr. Donald Bruce Hughes. Hello, dear.
Hi, Karina. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. So, after all these years, even though you're in New Brunswick, right? We're
Right.
in different parts of Canada, but it's very casual. We're just having a friendly talk, a friendly conversation, talking to the community. Tell us about Bruce. Who was Bruce pre-stroke?
Pre-stroke. Okay. I was born in St. John, New Brunswick in 1958. I grew up in Quispam-Sis, and in 1967 we moved to Fredericton, New Brunswick. And I've considered that home since, even though I went out west in the 70s and 80s and met my wife out there in Edmonton, and then we moved back here in the 80s and been here ever since. I worked mostly in education, working with a lot of at-risk youth and running my own youth programs and stuff. And music was always a good second job. So it kind of supplemented the income, so to speak, because the industry had changed a bit. And it
Exactly.
went from 6 nights a week to three. So you couldn't really make good money at 3 nights a week. So everybody had a day job, and being a musician was like your second job. So.
It was. And I'm sorry I missed when you were teaching before
Yes.
at risk. So were you teaching online or in person?
Oh no, in public schools, and some of the programs I ran myself, I was a project coordinator for, but mostly public schools from K to 12 type of thing, working mostly with M&R guidance, stuff like that. Kids that needed a little bit of a hand up
Guidance.
kind of thing, right?
Guidance. I am going to jump right into it. I am
Okay.
so curious. Um, were you a musician? You were a musician, but you always played guitar. Guitar or bass?
Guitar. My
Guitar.
first teaching job, I was 22 years old out in northern BC, right up by the
Okay.
Alaska Panhandle, in the middle of nowhere. And I was so bored that I needed something to do, so I bought a cheap guitar and taught myself to play. And when I moved back here, met a few people, started putting bands together, and one thing led to another, and had a couple of good bands over the years that put out their own music and recordings and stuff. And now I'm out of all that. I'm just kind of winding down that career. I'm going to record some acoustic stuff that I've written over the years I never recorded. I think starting next week we're going to record some more. And once I get through that, I don't even know. I might just call it a career. And I don't even know if I'll
Yeah.
play live again, but I would like to. But
Okay. What is your favorite or best memory that you have with music?
Ooh, wow. Well, the easiest one would be after my stroke, or well, actually, just before my stroke, they had announced for the first time in 18 years my blues band was coming back to our local festival, and we were
Okay.
at a big we were at a big event, a media event announcing all this, and 3 weeks later I had my stroke, or a series of strokes, and I begged them not to give up our spot. Like everybody knew I was in bed and probably, they didn't know if I'd live or not. So, a gig was probably the least of their worries, but to me, it was everything. It was motivation. And so I told them, don't give up our spot. I'll find a way to get there. And
Wow.
I made it. I could only do like the last three songs. My face was still hanging down pretty good. I couldn't hold a pick. I kind of drug my
Well,
leg
that's
on the stage.
amazing. Three
Oh, yeah,
songs.
yeah. Yeah, the last three songs of our set, and it was a packed house, and it was just like I was all, there was like eight of the nurses that cared for me in rehab there. It was a really emotional night and just so much love in one room that it,
Wow.
it carried me through. Adrenaline just carried me through that night. So
Wow. I wanted
that's
to say now
probably the
you're
best.
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's funny because before we started recording, we said a little things to each other before, and I
Mm,
think it's important to talk about that quick, because
mm,
it's going to make other stroke survivors feel like you and I felt when we found out we do the same thing.
yeah.
Guys, I apologized in advance to Bruce, uh, telling him that one of the bad things that the stroke did not cause it, but it started the whole thing going, and it's a bad habit. I interrupt. In case
Mm.
you guys did not know, in my interviews, I interrupt.
I've been known
And
to.
sometimes I'm so excited and passionate into it.
Yeah,
But and I said, I'm worried that I forget what I'm going to ask.
yeah.
So I interrupt. And Bruce made me feel so not the only one. Bruce said, I'm like that too.
Oh yes, I get accused of interrupting quite a bit. And it's the same with me. It's if I don't say it now, it's probably going to leave my brain space. So,
So I think it's important for you guys to see that if Bruce does it, if I do it, it's normal that you do it also. What's
right.
not normal is that we don't force ourselves. So one thing that I found to help me, I'm listening, paying attention, but I always have a pen and paper. You?
No, I gave up on the keeping lists and stuff, but they tried to get me to do that when I left rehab, but I kept losing the lists. So I just thought now, I'm retired now, and I thought if I go out the door and I've got 10 things to get and I only get eight, I'll get the other two tomorrow. Like I just don't worry about it
I
anymore.
love that. So you don't kick yourself in the butt.
No, I mean, of course, at the time you're like, damn, I wish I'd have remembered that, but it's just one less thing I have to worry about. Where's the list? Where's the list? You know, it works for some people, it didn't work for me.
I was going to ask you after, but the role, because now I didn't know this about you, that you worked in the teaching industry,
Yeah.
and I knew the musician man you are, but
Hmm.
now I understand the discipline. You are a self taught guitar player
Yeah.
because you were bored. So you have discipline in you. Were you always like that?
Probably my parents and teachers would say no. I had a really good memory before my strokes. It's still, people tell me it's still pretty good now, but it's nothing as good as it was. I lost over 1 billion neurons in one shot. So I've got a giant gray spot on either side. So there is some dead zone in there, but um, no, I've always been able to recall stuff. Even as I laid in the hospital and couldn't speak, all I could do is see in the air. I was aware of everything around me, massive brain fog, as you can probably relate to. So I
Yeah.
didn't take everything in, but just laying there, taking it all in, trying to remember. And even when I did my book, to put a timeline together, I took a copy of my medical report and some photos I had taken throughout the recovery period. And that's how I
Okay.
laid out my timeline. I need assistance now. I can't always rely on my brain anymore.
So we can add Colombo, investigator, add to your accolades.
I don't know about that.
Well, okay, now I would like you to tell me. So we talked about a little bit of Bruce before. Now I'd like to tell you to hear about your stroke story if you're comfortable, whatever you're comfortable talking about.
Oh yes,
What happened?
I've shared this many times. I was home for 7 months taking care of my wife was hit by a texting driver leaving work and woke up in an ambulance, had a broken back. So I was her home care worker for like 7 months, taking her to all her appointments and doing what I could to help her. And just this one day, I wasn't, I thought I had a cold or inner ear infection, like something was off. And I told her, I said, just see if you can pack some pillows around and drive up the road and see if you can drive yet, because I didn't think I could get her to her doctor's appointment. And about half an hour later, I went to get up off the couch, and just the classic signs, my whole right side dropped out. She immediately called the ambulance, who's only maybe a mile away, and I could hear them coming. And in that time, all of a sudden, I sat up and I was better than I had been for days, really. And they spent a good half hour with me, and they said, your vitals are incredibly normal. Like, we think you've had a stroke, uh, but we see no indication of it now. So they advised me to either ride with them or grab a shower and, or ride with them or go into the hospital and get it checked out. So I told my wife, take the dog for a quick walk and then we'll go into the hospital and check it out. So she left to go for a walk. I went up the stairs to grab a shower, and the second series of strokes hit. And I made it from across our bedroom in the old house was across the hall from that. And I made it back to the bed, and I could tell it was happening again. And I was losing consciousness. And I remember thinking, God, they're going to find me dead when they come home. And
Oh my Lord.
yeah, all of a sudden the back door opened and the dog, Willow, came flying up the stairs. And I later learned that they didn't get more than a couple hundred yards from the house, and she started dragging my wife home. She knew, right? Like
Wow.
she's my protector and my guardian angel, so to speak. I don't believe in religion, but you know, I guess that's the best way to put it. She knew that morning there was something wrong with me. She was all over me. I just assumed she needed exercise.
Really? What
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
dog is
So
she?
she's a border collie, Aussie cross, like the two most hyper smart dogs in the world. And the
Wow.
funny thing is, I rehome and rescue a lot of dogs over the years. And this one was in a medical situation. The guy died a couple of weeks later. He was in a wheelchair. So it's almost like she knew what to do. And if she hadn't drugged my wife home, because they usually go for like hour-long walks, I probably would be dead. So that dog saved my life, and she just turned 11 last week, and you know
Wow.
I probably only
Wow.
got a
Well, you
couple more
still have a
years
few
with her.
good years with her. Yeah. Well,
Well, a
mine,
couple
mine
anyway,
was
I'm hoping.
18.
But yeah, so anyway, we got to the second ambulance called. They rushed me in to Dr. Everett Chalmers Hospital in Fredericton. And for the next 3.5 hours, I was stroking on both sides of my brain. And they
Oh,
didn't know why. They didn't know, like, they had never seen anything like it. I could tell by all the people around me and the same questions over and over and over that nobody knew what was happening. And then the lady that is now my neurologist happened to be in the building, uh, Dr. Bauma, and they asked if she could take a look at me, and she did something with my eyes, just checked my eyes, and my pupils don't dilate anymore, and that's the telltale sign for vertebral artery dissection. Most people have two vertebral arteries that feed their basilar, which is your lifeline. I turned out I only had one and tore the one I had, and that's what was causing the clots. So if it hadn't been for her here that day, again I would have been dead because nobody knew. She had
Nobody
seen
knew,
one.
but she gave you hope.
Yeah, she had had one in her career. Uh, uh,
Wow.
yeah, so and I've met one person in almost 9 years that had the same series of strokes as I did. That like at the time it was quite rare. Canada didn't have the procedures like they do in the States that they do now and stuff. And so it was pretty scary. And, she rushed me into imaging and she alerted St. John that it started this endovascular therapy, thrombectomy, where they go in through your
Yeah.
groin up into the center of your brain. And then after the last pass of taking out strokes, because like clots were firing into the center of my brain every now and then and just
So
backing
she
up
would
like a
catch them before.
yeah, yeah. So on the last time out, they dropped a heart stent somewhere in here where that torn basilar or vertebral artery is, and
Yes.
that's the trick that saved my life. They'd only done that once before to a guy in PEI and saved his life as well. He didn't have a
Wow.
as good a recovery as me, but I've recovered better than anyone else in the world from this type of rare stroke. Series of strokes, actually. Like I say, giant gray spot on both sides of my brain, and then they shipped me to St. John, and if you get a chance to read the book, I describe what the ER scene was just total chaos. And when they decide they need to intubate me, I didn't know what that meant. But, uh, basically, someone explains to me, oh, we need to make you go unconscious. And I was afraid to go unconscious because I figured I'd never wake up. So I'm swinging back from my bed.
Were
And
you
then they,
afraid? Like, I know you were afraid of not waking up,
yeah.
but were you afraid of what was happening, of all this brouhaha around you?
Um, I was more concerned that nobody knew what was happening to me.
Okay.
And every time, like one side would drop out and I couldn't talk or anything. And then a few minutes would go by and then I'd sit up normal like this and I'd say, what's happening? And then the other side would drop out. So I could just see over time this was not going well. I was in serious trouble. And then when the imaging confirmed what my neurologist suspected, that's when they sent me to St. John.
Hmm.
9 hours later, they did the procedure, and the next morning at 6 a.m., they brought me out of that sleep they had put me
Coma.
into.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, and for 10 seconds, I was, oh my God, I can't believe I'm so happy I
I'm here.
lived.
I'm
And
here.
yeah, and then I see all these drip lines off both arms. I got two giant tubes, or maybe three down my throat, and all I can do is see and hear. I can't move a thing. It's called locked in, as you know. Uh, and the terror just started. Like I was terrified. Um, fear can be a pretty good motivator. But because with the tubes down my throat, I have a large Adam's apple and a small esophageal pipe. The tubes were choking me because when I woke up, I must have tensed those muscles and I was suffocating myself through the tension. So to calm myself down, I stared at my elbow and talked to it for about 3.5 hours, and then it jumped. Like I'm cursing in my mind, you mother effing, jump. And it did. So my brother was there and he saw that and ran and got the ICU doctor. And he come in, and because I've been having so many muscle spasms, he just assumed it was that. And I thought he was going to leave the room. And I thought, no, I've got to show that I did that. And it only took about 10 or 15 seconds the second time, and that arm jumped, and his eyes lit up, and he ran across the room. And
Wow.
yeah, and he's like, you did that? And I blinked yes, because they teach you to blink yes and no,
Yeah.
because they don't think, you know. And he said, look, we've never seen anyone make a connection that fast. And, you know, they're parading doctors and students want to be doctors, and I'm
Yeah.
exhibit A in ICU. Like, look what he's doing.
Exhibit.
And I'm thinking, that's a big deal. Like I'm in big trouble here. So a couple days down there, and then I asked them to transport me or communicated that I needed to go back to Fredericton because my wife was trying, my 90-year-old mom are trying to come visit me from Fredericton every day, and that's like a 90-minute drive each way. And so they transferred me back to Fredericton, and I spent a couple weeks in the acute stroke and then 7 weeks in the rehab unit there and regained all my. It took probably a full year to learn to talk, walk, speak, and write again were the probably two hardest things to do was learn to talk and to write again. Like starting with
Yeah.
printing, it was like you were in kindergarten with the A, B, 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 you know.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so I had a
Wow, what
large
a
team helping
story.
me, I'll tell you that.
It takes a village.
That's what I tell them. It takes a
It
village.
takes a village. It took a doctor's village, a
Yeah, well,
hospital.
yeah, it took a village to save this child. That's what I tell them between doctors, nurses, therapists, you know, counselors, you name it. Like, I mean, you go through a range of emotions, and the biggest problem with stroke, I find, is it throws your emotions off so bad. I know several that I coach that still haven't got their emotions in check like a year or two in, Uh, I got mine in control pretty quick. I still have a couple that I work on, when things
Mhm.
really piss me off. I carry that anger longer than I used to, and that's the one
Okay.
that bothers me the most. I have a real hard time with stupidity, I guess is another way to
I
put
think
it.
it's patience, right? We become so impatient
Yeah,
that stupidity we can't deal with it. It's like it sucks energy.
exactly. And the
And we
negative
don't have a
energy.
lot of energy to give out anyways, right?
Yeah, you nailed it there. That's the thing I've probably learned the most is how to parse out my energy each day, because like people would say to me in the early days, go to the gym, like get stronger, go to the, well, you obviously don't understand stroke. If I went to a gym and even went on a treadmill on an incline for 10 minutes, I couldn't do it, A, and B, I would
No.
be done for the day.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
getting a good sleep is the most important thing. I can tell when I wake up if I'm going to have a good day or a bad day, and then I can adjust what I'm doing and my energy flow for the day to make it through the day. Um, I do
I love that
every.
I don't have to really ask you questions
Mm,
because you're telling the audience what you went through on a
hmm.
medical standpoint, what you just did, but you're also giving us your strategies. And that's what the listeners, and that's what the show's all about, learning to cope and adapt and
Adapt. Yep.
strategies. Bruce is sharing amazing stuff. Listen to the guy. Sorry.
Well, it's my story and it's what worked for me, and I've coached. Like every Tuesday, I work in the stroke rehab unit as the patient experience advisor with stroke survivors and their families in particular, because there's lots of help for the patients when you're in the hospital. There isn't for the families. And I've
No.
seen so many suffer um, that I go in and share my story. And now that I have my book, I can drop that on the family just to help them understand what their loved one is going through,
Yes.
mentally and physically. And hopefully it gives them a bit of patience and understanding of what we're in, right?
So your book is called, I have to look at this. Your book, I love it. Medicine, music, medicine, and miracle recovery.
Yeah.
Okay. I wrote,
A-
yeah.
it's called
Which one came?
a
Yes.
stroke of luck. Music,
Stroke of
medicine, and a
luck.
miraculous recovery. Yeah, it's my
When,
pub.
can you send me the link to the book? Is it on paper or is it on Amazon?
Oh, it's on Amazon, Indigo. It's in all the bookstores in the
Perfect.
Maritimes. I'm hoping it goes national if the owner of Indigo reads it. Apparently, she's got some interest, and if she reads it, then there's a chance it goes nationally. So right now it's
Wow.
in book. Yeah, it just came out almost a year ago, and it even came out early. It was supposed to. There was so many pre-orders. They released it like 5 or 6 weeks early, unbeknownst to me. Friends
Wow.
I opened up my social media one day and he goes, "Isn't this your book?" You know, he was a friend from Ottawa, and I had just got my first
No
copy
coffee.
the day before, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they had so many pre-orders that they ended up shipping everything a month earlier. So it's been
I give me a sec. I
mhm.
read it's Porcupine Productions. What's
No
the
Purple Porcupine Publishing.
I heard it's the first publishing that they do that is such a success in the Maritimes.
Well, no,
Your book.
she's got several uh, well-known authors on there, but I'm a rookie, so nobody knew me,
That's what I
and
meant.
because it's my first book, and she did a really Vanda Jackson is her name, um, the lady that operates Purple Porcupine, and she has just been so good at guiding me through this because, like I tell people, I was in education and music, and now I'm in healthcare and books, and it's a huge learning curve for me. I'll be 68 this summer, and I'm still trying to
You
learn
look like a
something
young
new.
chick. You look like a young chick.
Yeah, well, I feel about 97 most days.
Yes, yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I think we all feel like that internally, right?
you bet.
Now that your body, I'd like you to tell me your body regained quickly, right? But
The
what would
left
you
side.
say, people that are having a hard time? What do you think is more important, regaining bodily function or regaining emotional stability?
Mm. Well, when when I coach people, I ask them, you know, because every as you know, every stroke is different, every recovery is different. Um, Stuff that works for me may not work for you, but I'll ask them, you know, what is your goal? Like I started with my first goal was to go to the bathroom on my own because I was laying in bed with a catheter, couldn't talk. All I could do was, see and hear. And I'm like, I couldn't even tell anybody to end my life if I wanted to because I couldn't see a future. Um, but I'll ask them, like, you know, if it came down to it and you could only get one thing, your leg back or your arm back, which would it be? And most of them say their leg. They want to walk. They could learn to do stuff with their opposite hand if they had to, but they want their mobility. So for me, it was the opposite. I wanted my left side came back within a couple of weeks pretty strong. Yeah. And it was my right hand I wanted. And the hands, as you know, is the most complicated thing we have besides our brain. It takes three sets of muscles to open and close. So that's why your hands are the last thing to come back in a stroke.
Uh-huh.
And they at the time in our rehab unit had a woodworking course, to help you
Okay.
with your hands. And they were building birdhouses, and I've built my own furniture around here and stuff when I was younger, and that didn't interest me. And when my left side came back a bit, I'd go out and try and rub my name off the board. And about the third time, they said, "Yeah, I don't think he wants to build birdhouses." And I was starting to talk a little bit, and I mumbled,
Okay.
"Bring me my guitar." And for some, for some reason, I thought if my brain saw my guitar, everything would work again. So they brought in my guitar on a Monday, and I took it out of the case and put it on my lap. My left hand was working pretty good by now, but I couldn't even like begin to get my
Yes.
shoulder over it. And I went into an immediate depression for about a week. And just a second, I'm going to get something.
Yes, of course.
Um, my occupational therapist saw that I was regressing and just not even caring anymore. Like I thought if I can't play guitar and sing and do those things, what's the point? So she came in one day and I couldn't hold anything really in my hand yet, you know, my right hand, but she made me this is two medicine cups, some dried rice and electrical tape and made me this little shaker and pried my fingers apart so I could get it in there. And just that first it's the sound of a pick hitting the strings, chick chick.
Okay.
And for the next several weeks, I would just sit there trying to mimic the motion of
Take
playing.
it. Okay.
And over 2 or 3 weeks, I could now go back and forth. I could change the pattern a little bit. So it helped me on the road to start to recover. And
Love that. Could
yeah,
you do a video on that, Bruce?
did I
Could you
what?
do a video? That
No,
is so powerful. Do you,
no.
at some point, undo your cup and show people? Because that's one of the questions I have for you.
Hmm.
Was how did you learn how to play the guitar? And you're explaining it.
Mm.
And so many stroke survivors like you, like me with my modeling, like you with your playing, figure if we can't do it anymore, right? We go into a depression.
Oh yeah, no, because it was the one thing I could always do on my own whenever, it used to be driving, but I couldn't drive anymore. Um, Driving, I would drive for 200 miles and think things through, right? And then once I had it all figured out, I'd come home and I'd just go drive.
Okay.
Because I've never had a cell phone. I don't do credit card, cash is king with me.
When you told me that, I'm like, no cell phone, I would die.
Oh no, well, I have my laptop at home and now that I'm retired, it's on. So if you message me and I don't message you back right away, I'm probably out. But when I leave here, the last thing I want is distraction because I need to
I love
focus,
it.
right?
I love
And
Bruce. You're an inspiration. I know you've heard this many, 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 many times. You really are. Your determination
mm,
is beyond this world. I really, really am proud of you. I'm so happy you're here to share not just your story, but how you got out of it. So when did you
mm,
get that? I'm gonna get you now.
yeah.
That week that you were down,
Mm.
what was your thought process, and how did you get out of it?
Um, well, I just couldn't see a future outside of, I figured I was going to be bedridden or a wheelchair or, I just couldn't see having a decent life. Certainly not the life I had led or wanted. And when she brought that little thing in and I heard that first chick, it just triggered something in my brain and like a memory thing or something.
Yeah,
And I said, yeah,
muscle
that's
memory.
so I just sat there, like I say, shaking that thing. And plus there, I mean, I'm doing OT, physiotherapy, speech therapy every day, trying to learn to talk
Yeah.
again without, I can hear myself today. I'm lisping a bit and my face I haven't been doing my face exercises so it's showing these days. By the end of the day I'm lisping and drooling a lot, as many stroke
Okay.
survivors know.
Okay.
Right. So I'm glad we're doing this early enough that I'm not too bad yet, but uh
I'm an early person too, and that is
yeah,
why I come and see you guys, because I'm like that too. Past 3 o'clock, my juice level is going down,
exactly. Yeah,
and my speech become a little bit more slur and
yep,
unaudible almost. So
yep,
I understand fully.
yep.
Yeah,
That's pretty much the timeline for me too. Like I usually leave the hospital the days I'm there by 3 o'clock because I'm exhausted from you know, like walking to all the different floors and meeting all the different people. I get through the day with adrenaline, but when I come home and have supper, that's it. Like my feet go up
you're
and I'm done
drained.
for the night. So I think I'll never be able to work full time again, but I would almost like to work part time again now that I've been home retired a couple of years. It's I don't know. I'd like to. There's more to do in life. I just love life, and I'm nowhere near ready to give it up yet. I guess.
So do you feel like your guitar career, like you said at the very beginning, you might play this last gig and decide to put it on the side? You feel you've done everything you wanted to do with the music?
Well, music's in a not a good place right now. We
Okay.
like we the last band I was in, we put out a great record, like all kinds of critical acclaim, two top 10 hits on the East Coast, and not one festival in our home province gave us a shot. You know,
Wow.
Nova Scotia was, but it just after 10 years of building something and putting out a really good product, no one gives a shit, right?
Okay. Okay.
So too much too much time invested into doing something for very little uh,
Return. Return.
yeah, return, that's the word. Yeah, yeah. And
ROI.
and we're older, and like uh, just some
Okay.
things were going on I
Fair
didn't
enough.
approve of, right? And I just thought,
Fair
you know
enough.
what?
So
It's
what would
time
you
for me.
do? So
Yeah,
what would you do? What are you gonna do, bros?
well, I'm
What's
gonna.
your ideal part-time job, part-time career?
Oh, it would be working as a part-time counselor at the rehab unit. Like that's what I want to do the rest of my life.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I'm all about research and finding, helping stroke survivors. Like we wanted to have a suite that saved me come to our hospital, but it was like $5 million I would have had to help raise, right? And I'm just like, wow, that's just insane to me. So my goal now is publicly educate. I knew nothing about
okay.
stroke till it happened to me, so I get invited to a lot of conferences and a lot of interviews and podcasts and stuff just to try and educate the public as to, you know, especially well, I don't know your age, but people my age, heart attacks and strokes are happening pretty much daily. And if you don't know anything about it, it's pretty scary. And, even if you do, it's scary,
Yeah.
but at least educating yourself as to what is happening, you know, the saying time is brain, right? You lose
Yeah, absolutely.
2 million brain neurons per minute in a
Mm-hmm.
stroke. I went 9 hours. That's over a billion, right? And that's why they're so like they can't believe that I've rewired my brain. And just on research, um, originally because I was recovering so well, they were going to make me a case study, and then the legal stuff gets involved, and because they use that trick of using a heart stent, which isn't an off-the-shelf thing, they thought, wow, if he has complications, he could sue us. So they didn't even study me. And but our local university has a robotics lab, and I had tested when I was up at the World Stroke Conference in Montreal on these robotic arms, and they had
Okay.
one there, and I said, "Oh, I know what that is," and they said, "Willow, no." There she goes now. That's not bad. 45 minutes in or
It's
so.
good. It's good.
But anyway, the robotics lab picked me up and studied, and I helped recruit some other stroke survivors. And they tested us on this arm. And a week before the pandemic, they declared that they had the data on me to publish that I had rewired my brain, which was obvious. If you'd seen me in bed and now, it's pretty
Yes.
obvious I've rewired my brain. But they needed the proof. And they published it in 2023 in some journal. And we're going to try and restart the study hopefully this year. And I'll recruit some more stroke survivors. So, just getting people
Count me
aware,
in.
and those that it's happened to, like us, if there's research in your area, join it because you're going to help people in the future. And maybe
Absolutely.
maybe they have a better recovery because of what we do today. Right.
That is a great last official phrase to the podcast.
Okay.
That is amazing. Is there anything you would like, any final last words you would like to tell the public? It's your
Hmm.
chance. Floor is yours.
Well, the one thing my neurologist always likes me to say is time is brain. If you suspect a stroke, call right away. Don't hesitate. Don't go to bed. Don't say, oh, it's this. You call right away. It's 2 million neurons per minute you're losing. And that can be crucial down the road in recovery. You need everything you have to, as you are well aware, like you have to fight like hell and give it your all. And I tell people when they come in, there's no guarantees with stroke recovery except if you don't work as hard as you can. Uh, the only guarantee is you're probably not going to go home, right? So you got to keep a good attitude and work hard and work with the people that, your therapists and doctors and
Yeah.
nurses, you know. Um, Everybody knows because I saved up all these questions when I went to the World Stroke Conference, and they took me because there were several doctors from states and Czechoslovakia and stuff that worked on my stroke specifically so I could ask these questions. I came back with not one answer because they had never seen
Wow.
anything like it either. So I just had to finally say, you know what, you're never going to find those answers. Just go do as much good as you can with what time you got left.
I think that is amazing. I would love to have you again at some point in your new career, new life. I definitely want us to follow up, and I love your participation. Thank you so, so much.
Oh, no,
Guys,
thank you.
Guys, this is what we have for you today. Bruce Hughes can be found on, yes. We are going to link your book, Stroke of Luck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you are also, we are going to be putting Bruce's information where you can find him
Mm-hmm.
on different social medias. And
Okay.
anywhere else? Are you on YouTube?
I do have a YouTube. I'm just kind of starting to add stuff to it.
Piano,
So,
piano. Yeah?
yeah.
Okay, we'll find you somewhere else. Guys, this is officially what we have for you today. I thank you so much. And remember to subscribe and ring that bell on YouTube. Every week I have amazing, amazing guests like this. I also share some very insightful shorts. Make sure you like, follow on your podcast platforms, and please share with Sugar Bear. The more you share the podcast to the stroke community or people that did not have a stroke, like Bruce said, they need to be aware of the signs to check their loved ones. Make sure everybody is safe. That being said, I love you guys very much, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Love you. Bye.